the ones that are in the document are the ones we want to focus on. Is that right, Gabe?
Yeah. So this is what I was trying to talk to James about yesterday, which was those lucid charts are well, they're cloud-based. So anybody that I share with, or any point in time that I'm making a revision, it's going to change. So ultimately, what I want the review to focus on is the actual deliverable that I intend to hand over to you and say, here, I'm done, which is the BRD. So as I create the lucid charts, I'm copy pasting into the BRD, and if the BRD is wrong, then that's what I need update on. If the lucid charts are wrong, then I expect that because they're working copies, and ultimately before we leave the effort, we'll want to make sure they're all firmed up and the BRD and the lucid charts are in sync. But this, for the sake of validating whether or not something's correct or incorrect, the BRD should be that source.
Well, let's just let's go drive through that.
Yeah, let's just go through that.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want me to share my screen and walk you through it like I did yesterday? Is that the best way?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. Actually, before I share my screen, let's confirm something real quick. Oh, well, you're just using your computer, right?
Yep.
James?
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, Kevin, I wanted to confirm whether or not you're getting and are able to access all the documents that I'm creating in the shared drives. So like in Google Drive, I'm collating the BRDs.
I get an email every time you send something.
Okay, right on. So you're getting them. Okay. So then let's go ahead and walk through that then.
So that's in Google, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so are you seeing my screen? Did it
Yeah.
do the wacky thing? Yeah, right on. Okay. So I'm going to show you where these are right now, Kevin, so that way you, as you see these links, will kind of have some understanding of what I'm chasing here. So in Google Drive.
Yep.
Under the ESG folder, which you guys should have access to.
Yep, I'm in it now.
Okay, so on the BRD, you'll see this rev 22 June. And so the nomenclature I'm using here is whenever I make an update, I give it the date that I worked on it. Then I do a D1 R1, and that changes. So draft one would be, it's draft one rev whatever. So if a draft was developed and I made changes over the course of that draft, then I call it D1 and then change the revision. But if say James weighs in and says, hey, I made updates, that's a second draft, and I'll make it D2 R. Anyway, my point is, I'm sure you get what I'm saying here, but my point is that's how I keep that kind of synced up so we can refer to different revs.
Yep.
So this one is the one that I'm referring to. I'm going to run it off my local because it'll just run faster. The file's getting pretty big. You know, we're at 60 meg now, so I'm just going to run it off my local as opposed to the Google Drive. But you guys should be able to access it and download it and tweak it if you want.
Okay.
So the most current rev as of last night was 22 June 2016, and it is draft 1 rev 3 is the latest rev. And I'm just going to start going through it, and you guys can help me understand what we need to edit and where we need extra eyes and all that kind of good stuff.
Sounds good. You go with this, James?
All
right.
So just title page, pretty standard stuff. This one, this page, are you seeing my screen now?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to up here? Is it fine?
Okay. I'm going to stand up there and read it.
I can make it bigger too. Is that any better for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, so just signature page, standard stuff, right? I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, somebody's going to be responsible for this. We want to capture what that is. Again, another standard element, just, table of contents. It's relevant because at the end of the day, this will be all the updates, and this will, you'll be able to use this file by control and then hyperlink click to go to whatever the hell it is that somebody wants to refer to. So that's the only relevant thing, but it's in work until it's finished. So I'll scroll through this.
It's only 86 pages.
Yeah.
What's that, guys?
I said
Only 86 pages.
Yeah, 86 pages.
Yeah, it's getting up there. It's getting up there. A lot of it's just, a lot of it is pictures. So that's a good thing. Yeah. When I started seeing the count, I was like, well, that's going to be a little intimidating, but it's a lot of it's pictures, and you'll see what that kind of stuff is. Okay. So revision history, again, another important element. When this will be updated when we say, okay, good, we're done, and that'll be Rev 1, and then any edits from there, you guys will keep this for version control, but that's what that's for. The RACI, so another standard element of any kind of, living document, just indicating who's responsible, what are the roles for the overall maintenance of this document. So we got Keith, Brad, we got James, Ashley, myself, and then Kevin. And here's kind of the standard nomenclature. So I don't know what should be updated here for you, Kevin, if you're ultimately responsible, and that's not, that I don't know. But it's just something to keep in mind. I do think that I have seen many instances where this matters, right? Ultimately, if you're going back to a customer and you're saying, hey, who the hell wrote this, or who approved it, or blah, 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 this can come into play. So it's here. So it's something to think about. We can keep it or we can scrap it, but as a standard process, I put it in. So executive summary section, this is going to be a 1-page, hey, you got an 86-page document here. What the hell is it in 1 page that you want me to know? And, that's a pretty standard element as well. I'm not going to make Keith or Brad or yourself, Kevin, live through all the various details here. I'm going to sum it up into a 1-page summary of all the things that I think you need to care about. It's going to be no more than 1 page. It might be less, but it'll say things like, hey, we looked at all your processes and I recommend that you do blah, 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 blah. This is why. If you want to find further detail, you can find it in these sections, that kind of thing.
Yep.
From there, here's the first portion of, my review needed from you guys, or from James. And so what this section does, the overview, is provides, it says it right here, provides 2 outcomes. The first is to describe the purpose of the document. The second is to provide relevant context. So what do I need to know in order for me to understand what the hell you're about to recommend? That's what this overview section is about to tell you. So here I'm saying the purpose is these 3 items. More closely align the team, provide continuity, and then ultimately uncover or recommend opportunities that will ultimately, influence profitability through increased performance.
Yep.
So then the second part is the context. And I think that there's a couple pieces that are relevant to the context. The first is, what is the product offering? What is it that we're providing VMware? This is updated as of last night. If you saw earlier revs, this was a different tiering. So this is updated. So this should probably be new to you guys both. But anyway, here's my input is, you need to know the context, you need to know the product offering. You need to understand the framework that we structure these accounts, or that I'm proposing to structure these accounts. You need to know the stakeholder interaction. You need to understand the network and how the connectivity model that's established will limit or enable us to do process improvement through automation. And then finally, I'm debating yanking this one, but it does drive processes when you talk about data, tools, and systems, because they choose them, right? It's not something that we get to have 100% free reign of. They chose to use Salesforce as a CRM. We have to use something that's going to, support that sort of thing. So there might be some need to discuss that. I don't know quite yet, but it's open for debate. I'm going to pause here. What are you guys' thoughts on these aspects of understanding a context?
I can't really see the chart.
It's just tiers. It's a draft. I don't even know if I'm going to keep it.
Okay.
But it was just simply trying to say that in my previous chart, it was, hey, it had a little account icon up here. And so that every account needs to be considered in from these aspects. What am I giving you? What is the structure? And I further explain each of these. So maybe you can guys just chew on it for a minute. Let me walk through the explanation. Maybe we can come back to it, unless you have feedback now.
No, I'm good with it. I wouldn't take out number 5. For me, I think a big part of this is not just the changes in the roles, but it's in how we're going to leverage technology to improve the process and automate as much as we can.
Yep. Okay, good.
Am I off on that, James?
Yep.
Okay.
Good. Okay, so then let me give you a little bit of explanation of what I mean by these tiers from a context standpoint. So the product offering, a couple paragraphs. I think this is pretty obvious for you guys. We partner with technology companies. We look to sell their education products. So here's kind of the blurb. You guys want to read through that real quick and give me your feedback?
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you understand that, then I go into a discussion about the framework. And so here's what I'm trying to tee up as my way of saying this is the way you guys should consider this process improvement documentation. It's not to say that ESG as a whole needs to adopt this as their own model. I'm saying for this document, you need to understand that this is the way that I structured the discussion for process improvement. Does that make sense? And so what I do is I describe these two things, and you can read very clearly what I'm trying to say. So at the highest level, you have two elements. You have this legend and you have the grid, and then I describe them. So the legend, and I'll let you read it.
Okay.
Okay, so then you talk about the grid.
I'm pretty familiar with how it's laid out.
Yeah, good.
I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, so then from there, I just go into a discussion about the stakeholders, and James and I just iterated yesterday on this. So I'll give you a chance to read it, Kevin. This is the stakeholder structure. So effectively, it's going back to that second tier of the context that I was describing. I described the product offering, the framework. This is now the stakeholders.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, and so there's a depiction here that and James and I iterated on. I think it captures kind of the iterations and how those things happen.
Yep, and I've seen this, yeah.
Yep, okay. So then you go into the network connectivity model, and I put a little weight behind here to give primarily, so I need, here, let me back up. So again, context, we need to talk about the network and what that's going to allow us to do or not do in the form of automation solutions. I put a little bit more emphasis on some detail here because I think there's a lot of, differences in what we think. I think people get latched on to, oh yeah, we can use APIs, but they don't know what the hell that is, right? They've heard that term before, but you need to understand that there's pieces that need to be in place before you can do that, and who needs to be involved. So my overall point is I tried to put a little weight behind describing some nuances and setting the context for you guys in this network piece. So I need you guys to read through this and tell me what your thoughts are, because it might lead us down a tangent that I haven't even thought of, or I might be diving too deep and we needed to bubble it back up. Okay.
Okay.
So tell me, I'm sorry, I just advanced, but tell me when you guys are done reading through and I need to scroll forward. And I'm gonna shut up because I want this to stand on its own.
That's right.
Okay. So I think you guys have seen this depiction, and I think this is correct. And so now I go into a little bit of context.
Okay.
Yep, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where the issue starts then.
You're talking in the first paragraph there, we do that in Salesforce, right?
Was that to me, Kevin? I didn't quite hear you.
Yeah, the first paragraph, you're talking about what we do in Salesforce, in our Salesforce.
So that's a great point. I meant it in general, because I think we do, you know what? I meant it in general, but you're right. It specifically refers to Salesforce. Yes.
It could be our instance or VMware's.
Yeah, because if one of the big things that's going to come out of this is, hey, we're going to do some automation in Salesforce and invest a little bit there. Let's just call that out.
Okay. Let me capture a thought here then. Well, so let me capture that thought, and then I want you to read through the rest and see if I addressed that. So let me insert a comment here. How do I get that thing? Oh, okay. So let me go back up here. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I've captured the comment in the wrong place, but I got it somewhere. I'll make sure I have it. So we're back here. So you've just read that paragraph. So read this through here and see if that makes sense to you.
Okay. So you're talking there about having our two Salesforce.
Yeah. See, so what I'm trying to tee up here is when we talk about automation,
Yeah.
we we need to be clear about what we're talking about. Are we talking about the two systems talking to each other without man in the loop? Are we talking about data in one system that needs to come over and populate another system? Those are two different things.
Right.
And I think
Go ahead.
for different things, we're going to need both, right?
Exactly. So this is the rest of the, yeah, so keep reading through this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there I'm teeing up the idea that, hey, there's a difference, and because there's a difference, if we focus in on what we really want, which is the ETL, then you have these options available to you, and it's the automated solution, the fully manual solution, or a hybrid solution. And so then I say, okay, those are your options. And then I go into talking about the networks, right? How is your network configuration going to influence those options? That's what this section tees up.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Okay, so what I was saying was,
That's my internet.
okay, so what I was saying was, what I just discussed was a difference between interoperability and ETL. And what I think we need is ETL. And then I go through the process of saying generically, you can do ETL in an automated fashion, manual fashion, or some sort of hybrid. And I lay those out there as options. And then now I go into a discussion about, well, what makes you go down the path of one over the other? And that's really what the network configuration is. Does that make sense? You still there? You there?